In last week's video, I talked a little bit about how eBay has been beating Poshmark week after week. And this week, you guys, I know you're gonna think that I'm exaggerating, but Poshmark literally died. Like literally, its life was ended. I'm talking, I had one sale on Poshmark in this week of sales. And it wasn't a great sale. It was a $10 sale. Poshmark literally died for me. Let's talk about it. Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I am a part-time reseller on a variety of reselling platforms. I guess you can still count Poshmark as one of those, even though it's really not giving me much lately. And in this week of sales that we're going to talk about, I'm going to be talking about sales from Poshmark, eBay, and also a live selling platform called Whatnot. But it was not a great week of sales, and I have some reasons as to why that was, but it was pretty rough. Also, just as a sidebar, if you hear what sounds like vacuuming and cleaning up above me, that's because there is vacuuming and cleaning going on up above me. So lots of things working against us. Poshmark hates me. We've got like some cleaning stuff happening upstairs, but we're still going to talk about this week of sales. So we're going to start by talking about December 18th, which was a Monday on eBay, because you're going to hear a lot about eBay in this video. I sold this new with tags, Lucky Brand camo long sleeve raglan sleeve sweatshirt. It was super lightweight in a women's size medium. This I got from a coworker at my school. She just gave me a bunch of clothes. We were trying out this consignment deal, and essentially if things sold and gave me a net profit of $25 or more, I give her 50% of the cut, and if it's under $25, then I give her 40% and I get the rest. And so this sold for $15 on eBay. She made $4.97 on that item, and I made $7.45. The next thing to sell was another pretty small sale. It was this Adidas Cleveland Cavaliers, or like Cavs, I put Cavs in there as well, Kevin Love, which that man does not even play for the Cavs anymore, so this is an old piece, and it was this basketball jersey in a youth size large. Not only is this an older piece in that it shows the name of a player who no longer plays for that team. There were also like a good number of stains and stuff on this jersey, if I remember correctly. This is something that I got from a reseller who a year into reselling decided she was not about reselling clothes. Like that was not what she enjoyed doing. So she sold me all of her clothing inventory. I had about $2 into each item. This sold for $10. So my net profit after fees, after the cost of goods, was $6.41, which is not a lot. And did I even need to take the time to list that? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that should have gone straight to Goodwill. I don't know why I listed it, but I did. And the truth is, it actually didn't take that long to sell. There just was never going to be a lot of profit to be made in that item. And then on Tuesday, which was December 19th, on eBay, I sold this Ralph Lauren ivory 100% silk button-up shirt. It had 3/4 sleeves, and it was in a women's size 12. That sold for $25. I actually got that for free from my mother-in-law. I don't know if she wore that at some point in her life. I don't know if she just got it from someone at her church or like one of her friends. She just gets things and gives them to me to sell. And they're usually pretty good quality. You know, this was 100% silk. So my net profit on that, since I had no cost of goods into it, was $20.73. And again, that probably sold within 2 to 3 months of being listed. Ralph Lauren is one of my favorite bread and butter women's brands to sell. It's not glamorous. It's not super exciting, but it is a consistent seller. So if I can get it for cheap, or if people are giving it to me for free, I do not turn my nose up at it, because there is good money to be made in Ralph Lauren. On Wednesday, which was December 20th, I had my one Poshmark sale. It was by the brand Christopher & Banks, and it was this lightweight Christmas scarf, like super lightweight, kind of like satiny, if you will. It had like Christmas dogs all over it, so like little dogs with like Christmas bows, and I don't know, like it was Christmassy and it had dogs. Yeah, it sold on December 20th. There was no way I was going to get this out to the person before Christmas, but that's when the sale was made. I shipped it out literally like the next morning. It sold for $10. This is something that I got so long ago from a fellow reseller who just had too much inventory on her hands. So I bought a half pallet of inventory off of her. This was in it. So I had $3.92 into this item. I made a net profit, not just on this item, but in the entire week from Poshmark, of $3.13. So
I'm now very, very wealthy.
on eBay, I sold this pair of Reeker Mimo Soft gray leather laser cut sneakers. They were in a European size 41, which translates to a US size 9.5. These sold for $49.99. I had $4.99 into them from a local Goodwill, and so my net profit on those was $36.34. And these were an encouraging sale because these had sold before. These sold before on eBay to someone else months prior. And the reason the person opened a return was because they just didn't fit her the way that she wanted them to. And so she sent them back to me. And I know a lot of times people get really upset when that happens, or I don't know, they even like take it personally. People just don't like returns. And I totally get that. I have a $69 return on its way back to me right now. That stuff hurts.
Ouchie.
Like, that stuff is painful. That being said, I just went ahead and listed those again, and they sold again for more money than I made the first time. Yes, it's an added headache. Yes, it's stressful. Like, you have to make sure that the item comes back to you in the same condition that you sent it. You have to make sure to process that return in a timely manner. Otherwise, eBay gets on you and dings you. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And I get that it's annoying, but in my opinion, it's a part of doing business. And that's how I treat retail stores, you know, like that's how I treat Levi's or Anthropologie. Like, if I try something on, it doesn't fit me the way that I want it to, I want to return it.
I would like a refund, please.
I want to send it back, get my money back so that I can spend it on things that I'm actually going to wear. I know that we as eBay sellers are not Levi's. We are not Anthropologie. But the problem is a lot of people who buy on eBay don't look at the people behind the listings as small business owners or as, you know, just people like you and me who are just trying to make either an income or just some extra money on this platform. They just see it as the place where they buy the stuff that they want, and they want to be able to do the same things with those items if it doesn't fit or if they no longer need it. They want to be able to return those items. Sometimes people take it too far, and I totally get that. I see and I hear all the horror stories of people who are like, you know, I sold this beautiful dress. They opened a return on the 29th day, and when I got it back, it smelled like smoke. It looked like it had been worn to the club like 18 times. Like, I totally get that. Every once in a while you get a really bad apple that you have to deal with when it comes to returns. Thankfully, at least in my opinion, that has not been the norm. It hasn't been the norm. I just kind of consider returns as a part of doing business, a part of selling on eBay. And when I have that mentality, it doesn't hurt or stink so much when returns happen. It still hurts, it still stinks, but it just hurts a little bit less because I've already programmed my brain to remember and believe that this is going to happen. So I don't know, if you're scared of eBay for that reason, if you're not selling on eBay yet because you're like, I don't think that I'll be able to deal with returns, because I get it, compared to Poshmark, Poshmark is much more supportive 9 times out of 10 of their sellers than they are their buyers. And eBay definitely is not that way. That being said, if you can go into eBay with the mindset of sometimes people are going to return things and that's okay, if you can go in with that mindset, I think that it's a little bit easier to deal with when those situations arise. And this sale was a good example of that. You know, it was a stinky return, but I was able to actually turn around and make more money on that item. And that's typically what you're going to be able to do as well when something is returned to you. The next thing to sell on eBay was a pretty cool sale. It was this vintage P. Coused. That was the signature that was on the bottom of this figurine that I'm talking about. Folk art wood carved white angel statue or like figurine. And it was from 1995. That date was also signed onto the figurine. It was missing a wing, and it was actually like this little, you know, wing that you could pop into a hole on the figurine, and one of them was just gone. I feel like both wings were there when I first purchased the item, but I think just as it made its way from the estate sale into my car, into my house, I think somewhere along the way, the wing just got lost. I had this listed for $99.99. I had one similar to this sell for the full asking price of $99.99, but someone reached out and was like, would you be willing to take $50 for it because of the flaw? Actually, I think I had this one listed for $75. I had it listed for $75. She reached out and was like, could you take $50? I have to put a little bit of work into it, because even apart from the missing wing, there were little nicks or little, you know, just little imperfections on the figurine. And so I was like, absolutely, because the truth is I really didn't know if these things would sell, but surprisingly they did, and they sold very well and they sold very fast. And I just wanted to move it, especially before the holidays. I didn't want to wait until the next Christmas. And so it sold for $50. I had $5.25 into it from an estate sale that I went to over the summer. But even though I got it in the summer, I didn't really get around to listing it until probably November. So, this had only been listed for about a month, and I made a net profit of $35.98. Now, if you watched this video right here, I do talk about how I'm not really gonna source hard goods or things like this year, mainly because while I did make good money on it, the act of sitting down to list it was so stressful for me. Like, I don't know anything about this stuff. I don't know anything about vintage wooden figurines that are like painted. I don't know. It just took so much time for me to research what these things were and then what they were worth. And I get a little overwhelmed before I even get into listing when I know so little about the item, and it just makes me not want to list in general. And so this year I'm just trying to be really thoughtful of what things set me off in that way, just kind of send me on this downward spiral, and I'm trying to avoid those kinds of situations. And again, although this made me good money, I think that when I think back to what I was feeling when I sat down to list it and do the research that it required to get this listed, I don't know, even though it didn't necessarily take that long, it took longer than it would have if it were just like a pair of jeans or something, because I'm very accustomed to listing those types of things. And obviously the argument can be made of hey, but you just need to push yourself and you need to expand to other categories. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm saying this for me is not the year for that. I need to just focus on getting things done efficiently and quickly, and selling stuff like that does not help me resell in that way. So it doesn't really align with what I'm hoping to do this year with reselling and just protecting my peace a little bit more. So these things will probably be sales of the past. You're not really going to hear me talk about them in future upcoming videos, but I thought it was pretty cool. On Thursday, which was December 21st, on eBay, I sold this Tommy Hilfiger custom fit navy plaid button-down shirt in a men's size small. This sold for $17.90. That was an offer that I sent out to watchers. I had $1.50 into it from a friend of mine who moved a couple years ago to a different state, and she sold me all of her inventory that she had. It came out to $1.50 per item, and so my net profit on that was $13.39. That did take far too long to sell, but I'm just thankful that it moved, especially because I hate selling button-up shirts. The next thing to sell was this pair of Steve Madden highlight red suede hidden wedge ankle sneakers in a size 10. These were a little beat up. They had some wear to the exterior suede, and I don't know, I was kind of on the fence of if I should get these or not. Steve Madden is one of those brands that I get kind of confused by, because some styles from Steve Madden can do really well and some styles absolutely do not. The nice thing is, on the inside of Steve Madden shoes, they always have the style name written out, so it's really easy to search comps. There's no reason that anyone should bring home a dud pair of Steve Maddens, because it says it right there, what you have on your hands. And so when I looked these up, I was like, oh, comps are actually not that bad. So I went ahead and got them at this pop-up consignment sale in October. I had $8 into those. They sold for $29.90. That was an offer that I sent out to watchers, and so my net profit on those pair of shoes was $16.72. The next thing to sell was this pair of vintage, new with tags, Levi's 505 straight leg red tab jeans in a size 38 by 34. This was another thing that I got from the reseller who realized she hated selling clothes, and they sold for $31.90. Again, an offer that I sent out to watchers. This was a good offers to watchers day. Sometimes I will send out 35 offers and get 0 bites, and sometimes I will send out 3 offers and all 3 offers will be accepted. So this was a pretty good day for that. I had $2 into this. My net profit was $25.25. The final sale of the day was this Max Mara gray tie shirt, 100% virgin wool long sleeve shirt in a size 10. I looked so long for a stock photo for this, because any of those wrap tie shirts, it's just so hard to show the actual shape of these kinds of pieces. I could not find a stock photo. I just went ahead and took the best pictures that I could, and I thought they turned out okay. But this did eventually sell for $45. It is something that I got in a ThredUp. I think it was just a women's mixed rescue box, something like that. I got this probably in 2022. I had this for a while, but it was something that I unboxed live on Whatnot, and that box was actually pretty good if I remember correctly. And so I was showing things as I was opening it on Whatnot. People were bidding on things, and just from the Whatnot show, I was able to earn in profit the amount that that box cost. And then there were a few leftover items that I didn't get to do another show for. So I just went ahead and listed those items, this being one of them. And so I'm saying I had no cost of goods into this since I earned back my cost of goods during that live show, and my net profit on this was $38.64. On Friday, which was December 22nd, on eBay, I sold this double RL Ralph Lauren gray textured shawl collar sweater in a size small. So this like double RL, I'll show you the logo here. I'll do like a close up. This is like one of the highest tier Ralph Lauren brands or like sub brands that you can find. And this was my very first time finding it in the wild. I was thrilled. It was when I was at a Goodwill about an hour away from where I live. I was at a conference with some students. They were in rehearsal, so I went thrifting. And there was just like so much good men's stuff, especially in a size small. I think it all came from the same guy. There was so much like John Varvatos. There was this. There were all these like new to me men's brands that when I looked up comps, like they were comping really high. So it was a good day for men's clothes. I probably had this listed way too high to begin with. That's why, it sold over a year later. I think I got really excited and I listed it for like $150, but this doesn't have any sort of like print or design to it. It's a pretty plain sweater. So it did finally sell for $99.90. Again, that was an offer that I sent out to watchers. Offers to watchers was just popping this week. But I had $14.99 into it from that Goodwill. My net profit on that was $70.56. If I could just find stuff like this all day, every day, like, yes, please. But that's not going to happen, so I also have to sell things like, Lucky Brand and Adidas, Cleveland Cavaliers. And then I had a Whatnot show on this Friday. I'm trying to think, like, what was my Whatnot show? I think I had, like, pretty decent stuff at the show. Some of it was stuff from a reseller buyout. Some of it was stuff that I had just thrifted. So it was a $302 show. That's, like, the amount that I sold. The revenue, once you factor in Whatnot's fees, that drops to $244.97. My cost of goods was $112 on everything, and so my net profit from that show was $146.71. That was probably like an hour and a half long show, so that's not bad. $146.71 in an hour and a half. And that was probably the last Whatnot show I did. Yeah, that's the last one I've done. I have some scheduled for January. I just keep rescheduling them though because I just don't have time in my life right now to be going live, and I'm trying to prioritize my sleep. And typically I had been doing Whatnot shows like after my kids go down, so 9 p.m. my time, which means I'm not getting to bed till like 11:30, and that's not fitting this like new healthier me lifestyle that I'm trying to live right now. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure out how to keep live selling as part of my reselling business. I just don't have it figured out yet. When I do, I will let you know. And then on Saturday and Sunday, which was December 23rd and December 24th, I sold nothing. I'm not surprised because I expect that on the 23rd and 24th, many people who celebrate Christmas were probably out there doing their last minute Christmas shopping. I also am not surprised because this particular week, my parents came into town. I believe they came in that Monday, which was the 18th, and I did not do a thing when it came to reselling. The only thing I did was ship so that eBay would not punish me and make me low-rated seller or shameful seller or you need to live in a seller. Like, I don't know. They love to punish sellers for not doing things, and I did not want for them to look at me disdainfully, and so I did do my shipping. I did not list a thing. I did not relist a thing. I did nothing. I just hung out with my parents. We had a lot of family time. It was wonderful. It was just not a wonderful week for reselling, specifically on Poshmark. My God. So that was the week Poshmark died. Thankfully, when we look ahead to the next week, Poshmark did kind of resurrect itself. But let's talk about my numbers. Again, on Poshmark, I sold the one thing. I sold that one scarf for $10. Poshmark's fees dropped that total to $7.05. I had $3.92 into it. I made a net profit on Poshmark this week of $3.13. On eBay, I sold 10 items for a gross sales amount of $374.59. Once you factor in eBay's fees, that total drops to $315.17. My cost of goods was $43.70, and so my net profit was $271.47. Again, the only thing I did on eBay was actually send out offers to watchers. I did not list. I didn't even relist. I just sent out offers to watchers and shipped, and I was still able to make 10 sales, which I was pretty thankful for, because if it hadn't been for eBay, I would have made like $5 this week. But then on Whatnot, I sold 42 items for a gross sales amount of $302. That total drops to $244.97 once you factor in Whatnot fees. I had $112 into those 42 items, and so my net profit on Whatnot was $146.71. There were a few items that were like pretty great, like a really pretty Bowden dress that I remember. I can't even remember what else. There were some great items, and they did sell for like a good amount, especially considering the fact that I didn't have to take the time out of my life to photograph them, list them, that sort of thing. Like the Bowden dress sold for like $26, $28 or something like that. But a lot of the stuff that I sold in that Whatnot show were things that I didn't really think were worth listing. So there were some great pieces. Oh yeah, there was like a Carhartt denim jacket, like a vintage jacket that sold for a lot less than it would have had I listed it. I probably should have just gone and listed that one. But there were, some good pieces, and then there were whatever pieces that I was happy to get $3 or $4 for. So in total, I sold, 53 items. That's if you're counting, Whatnot, for a gross sales amount of $686.59. When you factor in fees, that total drops to $567.19. My cost of goods was $159.62. And so my net profit for the week was $421.31. All thanks to eBay and Whatnot. Poshmark did diddly squat. And that's why I keep preaching the gospel of eBay. Like, if you're not selling on eBay, I'm telling you, there is so much money to be made over there. So much. Let me know what eBay questions you have down in the comments below. Let me know what is keeping you from eBay. I touched on, people being scared of like eBay returns and stuff. I totally get that. Let me know what else is keeping you from selling on eBay, and maybe I'll try to make a video addressing your fears. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. I hope January has been kind to you so far. I hope you've been kind to yourself, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.